You're watching The Forgotten Dollar, where we uncover the stories of money that vanished, fortunes that were lost, and wealth the world forgot existed. There's a vault buried beneath New York City, right under the streets walked by millions every day. Not just any vault, a vault that may contain over $20 billion in gold, cash, and assets, completely untouched, locked, sealed, untouchable. No one has the key. No one knows who owns what's inside. And most importantly, no one is legally allowed to open it. This is the story of one of the most valuable and forgotten storage facilities in the world. A vault so secure, it's become a financial tomb. But how did it get there? Why can't it be opened? And what do we know about what's inside? Let's begin. Our story starts in the 1950s. Manhattan was booming. Banks were expanding. Private vault services were on the rise. The ultra-wealthy needed somewhere safe to store gold, cash, bearer bonds, and precious stones without involving the government. So, deep beneath certain buildings, see information, financial district, private vaults were constructed. We're not talking about bank-safe deposit boxes. We're talking full steel-reinforced vaults, blast-proof doors, layered security systems, anonymity guaranteed. Cash went in, gold went in, and no one, not even the government, knew what or how much. But then, everything changed. By the late 70s, many clients had died, disappeared, or lost their access codes and documents. The vaults, still private, were sealed. And the companies managing them, many had merged, gone bankrupt, or were legally dissolved. Today, several of those vaults still exist, still full, still locked, and legally unreachable. Some haven't been opened since before 1980. Estimates place the total value between $12 and $22 billion. Inside, rare coins, thousands of gold bars, stacks of pre-1971 cash, jewelry once owned by royal families, and bearer bonds, uncanceled and possibly still redeemable. But here's the issue. No one can legally claim them. The vaults aren't technically abandoned, just forgotten. The perfect legal paradox. By the early 1980s, Wall Street was transforming. Paper was dying. Digital finance was rising. But the old vaults? Still there. Some vault clients disappeared. Others died without heirs. The codes, the keys, the legal ownership? Gone. Investigators tried to trace the vaults, but many were linked to offshore shell companies, names that didn't appear in any registry. No tax records. No ownership claims. In one case, the only contact tied to a $200 million vault was a disconnected Swiss phone number from 1984. With no owner, no access, and no legal standing, lawyers hit a wall. The city couldn't open them, the feds couldn't seize them, and no building owner wanted to touch them for fear of liability. One high-rise was even built directly above a sealed vault, without ever removing it. That vault may still sit beneath the elevator shaft, untouched for decades. So what's actually inside? One former vault employee said it held entire gold shipments, thousands of bearer bonds, and more diamonds than a luxury exchange. Another claimed one unit might contain missing Nazi-era gold, routed through private intermediaries after World War II. That theory has never been proven, but it's one of the reasons no one wants to crack the seal. Even if the contents were known, no one has the legal or moral authority to retrieve them. Not the city, not the state, not the banks, no one. Even today, most vaults are located under properties that have changed hands several times. There's no clear lease, no surviving ownership papers. No one knows exactly who or what is still in control. Let's break down the estimated haul. Over 3,000 gold bars. Millions in rare pre-1971 U.S. currency. Bearer bonds still technically valid. Private royal jewels. Undiscovered fine art, rolled and sealed in tubes. Vintage securities and offshore notes. Together, possibly over $20 billion. Just sitting underground. And yet, totally inaccessible. Why? Because every vault is tied to a paper trail. Deeds, leases, company filings, and those trails no longer exist. Many companies that operated them dissolved decades ago. Others were absorbed into new firms with no idea what they inherited. The vaults became a legal dead zone, and the contents? Unreachable. Let's say you wanted to break in. You'd need permission from the property owner, but most owners don't even know the vaults exist. You'd need clearance from the original vault company, which no longer exists. And you'd need documentation proving you inherited the contents, from people who may have never legally existed in the first place. Even if you got inside, you couldn't claim what you find. You'd violate property laws, insurance laws, possibly even international banking treaties. So no one tries, and the vaults remain. Over the past 40 years, New York City has changed. Skyscrapers went up. Fiber optic cables were laid. Subways expanded. Buildings were bought, sold, and demolished. And yet, those vaults remain sealed, often just a few feet below. A box of bearer bonds might sit beneath a frozen yogurt shop. A crate of gold bars might lie under a law office. No one can touch them. No one even knows they're there. So what happens next? Some believe these vaults will never be opened. Modern pyramids, filled with treasure. Others think one day the city will take control and sell the rights. But there's no precedent for that. No laws in place. And no roadmap for unlocking wealth this lost and this invisible. Until then, the vaults remain sealed, untraceable, untouchable, unforgettable. A quiet reminder that even in the richest city on earth, fortunes can vanish, wealth can be erased, and some doors were never meant to be opened. This is The Forgotten Dollar. Subscribe for more long-form stories about vanished fortunes, collapsed empires, and the hidden history of money.